Now, understanding the daily challenges faced by individuals with hearing impairments can be incredibly difficult. Everyday activities such as talking on the phone, comprehending speech in noisy environments, participating in work meetings and pursuing higher education present significant obstacles. Despite these challenges, Qobo Ningiza, who is believed to be South Africa's first deaf LLB graduate, has defied the odds. He joins me in a studio with Andiswa Gebashe, a sign language interpreter. Qobo, really good to see you. Thanks so much for coming onto the show.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here.
Well, we're happy to have you. Now, you're going to talk to us about your journey as South Africa's first deaf law graduate. I'd imagine that this journey has been, I suppose, a difficult one for you?
Yes, indeed. It has been a difficult one, especially with university. The environment was different. My background, I come from a deaf school where everybody is deaf and everybody uses South African Sign Language. Moving to university where everybody is hearing and I'm the only person who's deaf, it was hard to adjust. Language challenge, forming relationships, socializing in a hearing space. It was really hard. And I think what is even worse with university is the lecture. At school, the teacher uses South African Sign Language. University, it's a hearing lecture, and it's in Afrikaans. So the lecture has to be interpreted in English and into South African Sign Language. So by the time it gets to me, it has been interpreted or rather translated in so many languages. And as a deaf person, relying on an interpreter was really hard, was almost impossible, because I have to look to hear, and I'm expected to take note. So the lecture is continuing, but the time I'm finished taking note, the lecture is somewhere else far. So it was really challenging.
So you've obviously gone through this incredible journey and come out on top. And I think that speaks to your resilience. Now, one would imagine that when you were in school, you obviously had relationships, you had friends, and you had a support structure, right? How did you navigate the shift from school into an environment potentially where you didn't have friends, you had to make friends, and you needed to create a support structure in order to make life easier for you on campus? In fact, everybody needs a support structure, I suppose, wherever they are.
Adjusting took a very long time. I mean, to be honest with you, I think the first 4 months in university, I felt all my chest. I felt all my chest. I think the first semester was the worst. It started around May where it started getting better, but the first time, adjusting was really, I was at the verge of dropping out. I thought of dropping out many times. But after a while, I was able to form some friendships and started teaching some people South African Sign Language. And over time, but also I also practice on using my speech as well, as hard as it was. Because when I was at a deaf school, I didn't have to do that. Within a deaf community, I don't have to do that. I just need to sign. I've never had to use my voice. But going to university, I had to find a way of surviving. I started using my voice. But hearing people will still not understand my speech, so I have to go under those training, and I started forming relationships which then provided that support system.
Okay, so are you going to practice as a lawyer? Are you going to be in court? Is that something that you're going to do? And if so, what are the prospective challenges?
Of course, I plan to go to court.
And how are you going to deal with those?
I mean, I am practicing now at Siri in Johannesburg, Braamfontein, as a candidate attorney, and I am provided with an interpreter. Yes, it is challenging, but it is way much better compared to the experience I had when I was in university. There are still challenges. I mean, going to court, remember, I also have the interpreter is interpreting for me. And if I'm handling a case, I still need to look. So, but I am finding ways of navigating how to take note while looking at the interpreter. I will continue using an interpreter even in court.
Now, you've talked about your desire to pursue human rights law. What's kind of got you going in that particular direction?
Growing up in the community as a deaf person, my goal is to make an impact in my community. I do want to transfer the situation and make it more desirable and more accessible. So I think human rights is a tool or a system that one can use to achieve that. There are many cases right now that I see the difference in people's life, like how they feel, how positive they are. When clients felt hopeless, but when the judgment is made to support them, or if they receive a claim, or if we win a case, or they eventually get their payout, I see how justice changes people's life and the impact that it makes. And we need a lot of that in South Africa. So human rights law is really what I'm desiring. In the past, I wanted to be a teacher, though, and I thought I would make an impact, but I'm thinking there's only one school. So how do I then achieve a larger audience? So human rights, I strongly believe in making impact and empowering people. Thank you.
Now, living with disability is by no means easy. I'd imagine it's difficult at best, right? But when you see a person that is physically handicapped or crippled, for instance, you almost prepare yourself because you can see their disability, right? But when one looks at you, right, you look no different to me, Qobo. And my question is, how do people react to realizing that you are deaf or that you have a disability, right? And then how do you in turn react to that? Because it's one thing a person coming up to you and seemingly wanting to talk to you and expecting a particular response, and then bam, they don't get that response.
It happens every day. It happened today. It happened now at the door with the security. So I experience it every day. So I just said, no, I'm deaf. And using sign language, I experience it on a daily. When I left home, I mean, and if and people would greet me, and I use my hands, and but they're always puzzled at, is he waving or is he deaf? But what's best is always when I meet a person, I volunteer the information that I am deaf. So that we don't make it awkward for all of us. But it doesn't always happen. But as a person, I try to communicate, I try to use my voice. And if I see that it's a problem, I do inform them that I cannot hear you. I'm actually deaf. So maybe I need to find another system of telling people that I'm deaf. In the first place, so that to avoid the awkwardness of them thinking I'm ignoring them.
Well, let's talk about technology, right? Because a few months ago, I traveled to China, right? And eventually you walk around, you speak to people, and they don't understand the language. But there are apps. You go on an app, you speak to the app in English, the app then translates to the Chinese national or to any other national, depending on where you are, and you get a response. Is there technology that you are using to bridge that divide?
No, I mean, I'm not using any technology. And to my knowledge, there isn't an app yet. I mean, there are some apps for spoken languages, yes. But for sign, it is rather challenging. For spoken languages, you speak to a device and then it translates for you. But for sign language, I don't know any. I mean, I've heard stories in newspapers of gloves and other things, but to an effect where there is a technology that actually works, that's functional, not to my knowledge.
So the young people right now that are watching this show, or that will watch it on YouTube, and will be amazed, will be proud of the journey, will feel, you know what, you're a shining light, you're an example. But let's talk about who's the proudest in your family. I know you've achieved an incredible amount. You're obviously proud of yourself, but who else out there? Who's rooting for you, and who says, you know what, Qobo, you've gone out there and you've done the most. Absolutely delighted with your achievements.
My mother. Oh, my mom. Umama. Your Umama is very proud. Because, I mean, she's been there for me from school, coming to terms with the fact that she has got a deaf child, and she's always supported me and believed in the things that I do. So, Umama. So my achievement is her achievements, because she's been in the struggle with me. So I don't think any of this, I mean, I'm sure there are other people who are proud of me, but the first person that I know is very proud of me is Umama. And I thank my mother a lot. Yes.
That's amazing, because even to this day, my own mother watches me every single day, right? When I'm on end, and she'll message and she'll tell me that she's watching.
I hope now my Umama is watching as we speak. Because if she's there, I know she's happy. If she didn't watch it, then, but I'll make sure that she sees this interview.
Now, you look like a really nice guy, right? But are there people in your past that said to you, you're deaf, you will never amount to anything, that you might want to have a conversation with today and say, see me now, look at what I've done, look at what I've achieved?
Well, when I told people I want to study law, they were hesitant, because I'm deaf. They're like, oh, but you're deaf. How would you even achieve that? I've surprised many people by going the route of my studies and achieving this. When they meet me and for consult, people, they're like, what, a deaf lawyer? That has never been heard before. So it is a shock. Every day when people find out that I am a lawyer, it is surprising. Even the judge, and then even how we're going to stand. The judge, they're also in shock that I am a deaf lawyer. So yeah. I mean, it's going to take time. I mean, it will be normalized in the future, but right now it's still a shocker to everybody's system. But I'm positive that it will turn out better.
So let's talk about relationships, friends, partners. Are you a family man? Are you looking to start a family? What are the sort of challenges you expect, or expectations of a future partner if there isn't one at the moment?
My expectations? That's a difficult one to answer. Oh, I don't think I have expectations. I mean, I've dated deaf, beautiful ladies and hearing, but my expectations, let me think about your question. Truly, I don't have expectations. I mean, if I meet a person that I like, I think that's important. I mean, I have been with a person who doesn't know sign language, and we try to navigate ways of communicating amongst each other. But I don't have a preference of I would date a deaf or hearing. I think it's all the same. Thank you.
No different expectations.
No expectations. No different expectations. Just
So
putting it out there.
We talked about speaking, and I can pick up certain words as you speak. How much speech do you have, and do you tone it down, or I mean, just walk us through that aspect of your life.
So it started when I was in university on campus. I mean, I am a Xhosa man and I speak isiXhosa. However, I could not tell whether is my voice high or low or the rhythm of it. So when I'm working with an interpreter, if I choose to use my voice, the interpreter would indicate to me to increase my speech or to lower my voice. But I know if I make a mistake, for example, there are certain words I'm unable to pronounce. Even in my system, it doesn't feel good. And then the interpreter will then say that word. But there are words that I know that I can't pronounce them proper, which will then, it will result in you not being able to hear what I'm saying. But I mean, I do practice it often. But sometimes I would ask an interpreter, how do I say this? How is my voice sounding? Do I need to lower it? Do I need to speak louder? So the interpreter is there to assist with that as well.
But I'm sure I speak.
But I'm sure I speak good. Most people understand me. When I speak, when I use my voice, people understand me. They don't have a problem. It's just now I need to note whether am I loud or am I speaking soft? There are some words that I don't get right, but mostly, yes, I do get it right.
My brother had a friend who had a disability. He had one leg was shorter than the other, right? And if they were running to catch the bus, they wouldn't wait for Justin. They would just run, you know, and he would have to catch up. And the reason for that was because Justin wanted to be treated normally, and they treated him normally. In your interface with the people that you come into contact with, what is your attitude to you having this disability and how people react or treat you? Do you want to be handled with kid gloves, or do you want people to just treat you like they would treat anybody else?
Truly, people, deep down, everybody wants to be treated normally. Because every time when there's an extra care, there's an element of othering, you know, and then thinking one is unable to do certain things. I mean, I'm not trying to be any different. The approach is to approach me like you would approach any other person. Don't feel sorry for me, because what that does, it disempowers me in an environment. But if you treat me like just like any other Joe, then I'm fine. But if you give a special treatment because of this, that's where people start making mistakes. But also sometimes it depends on environment. There are environments that requires that special care. Yesterday when I went to Home Affairs, the experience I had, because everyone was shouting, number what, number what, and I couldn't hear. You know, it was just and there was an announcement that was made, and sitting there without an interpreter, the environment did disempower me. So, but if there's a person dedicated who's going to say, this is what's happening, because right now I'm not disabled because we can speak. So I think there's specific environments that requires a certain level of care, but in general, I don't think people want to be added or treated differently.
Now that you're a lawyer and you've been a lawyer for some time, do we expect to see you fighting for the rights of people with disabilities, various disabilities, people who are deaf? I mean, you raise an important point that you go into a public facility that will have a monitor, for instance. The monitor may or may not have sound, where obviously there are subtitles that works perfectly. But in the instance where there are subtitles, do you suggest that now there's a need to have somebody who's signing for individuals that cannot hear?
Yes, but the situations are different. But I would say the best way for deaf people to access information is signing. If the interpreter's not there, then have a caption. However, the first preference is signing over subtitles. I know a lot of people assume that if you put up subs, then you've covered. And I know also there's a shortage of South African Sign Language interpreters. But there's technology now. There are ways of going about making sure that people have access to information. But is it happening? Is it achievable? Currently, there isn't any system in any public settings for that, in offices or where they have monitors. There is technology that we can use and that can really aid a lot of deaf people.
I hope it happens.
I hope it happens very soon because it's currently not there. It's really disempowering. When you are an old person, you're going to these places and there isn't any access to information.
Fantastic. It's been great having you on the show. And what we're going to do as we wrap up the show, I'm going to ask you to sign off for us. So you're going to say, hello, everybody. I'm Qobo Ningiza. You're watching Newzroom Afrika with me and Hugo Batiga and Andiswa Gebashe on sign language. And then wish everybody a good night.
Okay.
Hello, South Africa. I am Qobo Ningiza. This is my sign name. You're watching Newzroom Afrika with me, Hugh, and Andiswa Gebashe. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching. Thank you.